Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over Skytear Horde's the campaign expansion, I guess. I'm a little bit late to the overall, the ball game of Skytear Horde, because apparently this is the third standalone expansion, I think, because there's Skytear Horde, then there was Monolith, and then now there's campaign. And from my understanding, they can all be mixed together, but then there was iterations that kind of fixed components or fixed cards from the previous stuff. It's a little bit kind of all over the place from my understanding. But Brad and I have actually already done a discussion over Skytear Horde's Monolith. So if you want to know our thoughts on that, you can go check out that video. But this is going to be over the campaign section. What is the campaign? Well, it is essentially 4 games of Skytear Horde in a row, with a few tweaks in between them. And I'm going to go right out and say it, I don't really like this mode at all. I think Skytear Horde Monolith is fantastic, but I don't really like the small tweaks that they made to the campaign. So really what you do is you pick the stuff that you have, and you can essentially just kind of play 4 games with various scenarios. And what the scenarios do is they're kind of small events you can do to then be able to kind of fight a mini boss before you get to the final boss or the final outsider. And they also have where is it? Oh, it's right here. A little thematic campaigns booklet that you can do. So that range from easier campaigns, intermediate, harder, and even harder. So this kind of tells you, hey, if you want a more thematic campaign, you can pick these. You can pick these alliances. You can pick these hordes and shuffle them all together, and then pick this outsider. But if you don't have that, or you don't want to follow that, you really can just pick anything from what you've got as you're setting it up. Then they give you this gold dial, or a gold token to track your gold. And you kind of spend gold on these various events based off of the scenario. So one of the very first ones is the Winds of Rebellion. It's the Renegade. This is the easier one to play. You can spend your gold, or gain gold, or spend it to do one of these actions. That could be, feudal tax is discard cards from the Horde deck until you discard a monster and summon it with 1 health left. And that gains you 7 gold. You start off with a monster out in the front lines, and that allows you to actually attack it and potentially kill it, so you can start drawing more cards. But you can also spend money to kind of basically heal your castle, because throughout every single game you play, your castle's health carries over. So if you take a bunch of damage in one game, then you'll be able to either potentially repair it or not repair it, and then you'll just have to kind of live with the consequences and potentially lose. That, and then you also lose gold whenever you're pillaged. Each card you're pillaged by, you lose that much gold, so you kind of have to manage your gold. My overall problem with the campaign mode is that you miss out, I think, on kind of the progression of the way the game plays, because you're only ever given 1 portal for each game. And my problem with that is, in the base game, when you're doing a standalone game, yeah, you might have the same portal, but there's different stages to it. Now, you might not even defeat all the stages, because you only have to defeat 1 stage to get the outsider to come out and then potentially kill it. But whenever you're dealing damage to the portal, through the rest of the game, there's actually a benefit and a reward to that. So then you're gaining more mana, which means you're going to be able to play your higher level cards. You're going to be able to do more as the game progresses. But you don't really get to do that in the campaign mode. It's just kind of a flat, static portal that is going to be the same mana you're gaining every time. So if you get the outsider to come out super quick, then there's not really anything to do except just kill the outsider. And because the first 3 games are that much quicker, you just kind of defeat the outsider, and then you're like, okay, well, that was that, and then you move on to whatever the next game is. I've never been a fan of campaign modes as well that are basically, hey, play our base game this many times in a row, and then that's a campaign. It's like, no, not really. Because there's nothing really tying any of the games together except that's just what you pick to play 3 or 4 games in a row. So instead of having a solid standalone one-shot, you have mediocre games up until the final boss, and it's like, hey, that was one whole campaign. And they throw in some narrative to the campaign, like whenever you're picking one of the scenario options, depending on which one you're in, there is some text that you can pick. So hey, if you're fighting the predators and you pick the Carl that looks like Jack Black, or JD Vance a little bit, and you pick that event, then you have some text to read that gives you some lore dump. I gotta say, I could not care less about what this lore is. Some people might like that. It might give them a little bit more flair. But I can tell you, just even from the very beginning, it kind of expects you to understand who certain people are. It's not like it eases you into the campaign. You're just like, who the hell are these people? And I don't know, the writing was just... It was so whatever that I eventually just quit reading it because I just didn't care enough. Some people might like that. I certainly am not one of them. Not for this kind of game. Even though I have the lore books for this because it came with the stuff that I got. It it just isn't something that I was into. Now the other thing that is new to the campaign mode is this recruit action. So you actually don't start with your full deck, or whatever your customized deck is. You can still customize deck, but you kind of make a market that could either be from, just one solid deck, or one solid faction, or a combination of other factions. But you overall start with like a 20-card deck. And some of the events that you pick will have a recruit action. And that recruit kind of gives you these pools to choose from. If it says, recruit 2, you basically put out 3 piles of 2 cards, and then you pick. And the market is comprised of, better cards, not your standard gray. You start with 18 of your gray and 2 legendaries from whatever faction that your castle allows you to have, and you can pick any castle that you want, so it doesn't restrict you to that. So last game I played was the Shrine of Kyoku. Like, I can have any of these types of castles, or if I wanted to deck construct. But you really, you're not limited to any of that. You can just pick a faction you want to go with and play it that way. But you pick you have your 18 grays and then your 2 purples, and then from then on, every other thing is shuffled into a market, and then... when you recruit, it's like, okay, here are my 3 options of 2 cards, and out of these 3, I'll take these 2. One thing that is nice is that the cards that you pick do go on top of your deck. So you're going to get them at the beginning of the game, and you can still mulligan them out if you actually don't want them based on what you draw. But then the other ones go ahead and get shuffled randomly, and then they get put at the bottom of the market deck. I think some people might like this because it adds kind of a deck building element to it. For a game like Skytear Hordes, I don't like being restricted. I don't like having most of my cards gone and then I get them back throughout the course of the game. I'd rather just have my deck and be able to kind of play it the way I want to play it, and just kind of go through the standalone, picking an outsider, picking a horde, and then just playing. This feels like such a slapped on, mode that it doesn't really need it. You really could have just done this with the regular stuff, and there didn't need to be this whole extra, rigmarole of, hey, now you have gold. Oh, you got to pick scenarios. and you got to read the scenario flavor text. And oh boy, if you jump into the campaign book, you get to read some flavor text for that. It doesn't do anything. There's nothing that warrants this to be a campaign. And hell, even in the campaign module, because like there are these, they're called henchmen, which are just like, you know, shittier outsiders. They're not full-fledged outsiders. You basically have to get 2 of them to count as one outsider. So if you don't want to play the campaign and you want to do these scenario henchmen, which are the back of the scenario card, you just grab 2 of them, and then those are your outsiders that you have to defeat, like at different phases of a regular outsider. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the campaign mode. I mean, I guess the nice thing is the stuff for the game isn't, you know, restricted to the campaign mode. You could still use it all as one-shots for Skytear Horde. One thing that the campaign book does bring that I really enjoy has nothing to do with the campaign mode. It comes with these achievements. So now there's like these heroic achievements for each faction deck. So like the Leothan decks, you know, let's see. Violent Hall. Freyhill's ability triggers 8 times in a single turn. And it also tells you like which Leothan deck that is. That's for the Leothan Enforcers. The Tulot decks. Sabam. Zokol's ability sends the Watcher, an ally from the Tulot Custodians deck, back to the Outsider pile 4 times. Then there's Kuromo decks. Found. Sakashi's ability destroys the Abyssal Terror Outsider. And Nupton decks. Swift. Ekrit baits 3 non-minion monsters and destroys them in a single turn. I just rated 1 randomly for each one, but these are heroic achievements for all of those. And then, yeah, set aside the mentioned hero on setup. You may play it as if it was in your hand, paying 1 additional mana, hit the additional goal, and win. So it kind of is like a commander ability, which is neat. And then they have 1 rule achievements, just 1 extra rule to twist things up, so there's 10 of those. And some of them have asterisks next to them, which is like, hey, deck construction is basically required to achieve the ones marked with an asterisk and still win. So like, for example, just spells. After a non-spell card is played, the castle gains 10 damage. Well, so you're pretty much just building a deck of just spell cards, so, or maybe 1 ally, if your castle can handle 1 hit. Then there's nightmare levels. So you start with the lowest nightmare, and it goes all the way up from Nightmare 1 to Nightmare 10. So Nightmare 1 is on setup. Are all of these on setup? They are not. 1 through 8 is on setup. But these are cumulative, so if you start at Nightmare 1, on setup, the castle gains 4 damage. Okay, that's not too bad. And then if you do not, you know, if you win the game, then you do Nightmare 2, then on setup, the castle gains 4 damage, and you pillage 5 cards. So these are cumulative and just gives extra challenge to the game. And then there's a completion table on the back that basically tells you, here's the combination of 144 options, and you just write the number of the level of difficulty that you want. So the Leothian shapeshifters against the against the Renegade. So if you just pick the shapeshifters, you play against the Renegade at whatever difficulty level you want. Let's just say 2. When you win, you just write a 2 in the box, and then you do that just, you know, until you've done all 144. That stuff I very much enjoy, and it comes in the campaign book, but I almost wish that that was like its own separate thing, or came in just the base game rule book. Everything else about the campaign mode, I will never do again. I would never look at the scenarios again. I initially thought the scenarios were kind of like random events that you can kind of pick, like almost like a prelude thing from Elder Tor, where you just pick a scenario and it has like these things that go on, these special rules for the game. But no, they're not that. They're little quick things that you can do in between games of a campaign, and I have no interest in doing that, so I'll probably just take all those and shuffle them in with outsiders, or just keep them separate. And it's like, oh, I want to do 2 henchmen. Yeah. Not really anything that they added to the campaign mode that I enjoy, really, at all. So, not for me. But if you really like Skytear Hordes and you just want to play 4 games of it in a row, managing gold, then that expansion is definitely for you. It clearly adds more stuff. So if anything, and you like get it just for the more stuff, and I know it does some erratas for older stuff, which is unfortunate that it kind of does that, but none of it's game breaking. It's not like, oh, if you don't have campaign mode, everything else is broken. It's not. It just kind of tweaks some things from what I can gather. So yeah, I mean, it is Skytear Horde, so it's not like it made the game worse. It's just a mode that I don't really like. So on a scale of 1 to 10 for Skytear Horde campaign, specifically the campaign stuff, I gotta give it like a 5. It's whatever. It's an average mode that I will never, ever touch again. So that's that. That's my thoughts on Skytear Horde campaigns. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.